Bitcoin bubble or undervalued? Welcome to the Satoshi Signal. Bitcoin bubble and institutional holdings. Is Bitcoin a bubble or a new financial paradigm? August 2025 overview. Historical boom and bust cycles. Bitcoin has experienced multiple dramatic price surges, followed by sharp corrections. For instance, in 2017, Bitcoin rose to $20,000 before crashing to the $3,000 by 2018. In 2021, it peaked at $67,000, then fell to $30,000 by May 2022, and further to the $19,000 after the Terra Luna collapse. These cycles suggest speculative mania, where prices are driven by fear of missing out, FOMO, rather than intrinsic value. Economists like Warren Buffett and Nobel laureates have labeled the entire crypto market a speculative bubble, pointing to Bitcoin's lack of dividends or tangible utility compared to traditional assets. Recent price surge and warnings. In July 2025, Bitcoin hit an all-time high above $120,000, driven by institutional adoption, U.S. regulatory support, and Trump's pro-crypto stance. However, experts like Ravi Sarathy from Northeastern University warn of a potential bubble, citing firm-driven volatility and inexperienced digital asset treasury companies propping up prices. Robert Kiyosaki, despite being a Bitcoin advocate, recently cautioned that bubbles are about to start busting, including Bitcoin, gold, and silver, suggesting a correction could follow the peak. Lack of fundamental value. Critics argue Bitcoin lacks intrinsic value since it doesn't generate income, unlike stocks or bonds, and isn't a physical commodity, like gold. Its price is driven by sentiment, scarcity, capped at 21 million coins, and adoption speculation. John Hawkins from the University of Canberra calls Bitcoin a speculative bubble that hasn't fulfilled its promise as a common payment method after 16 years. Research from Utrecht University highlights that crypto bubbles, including Bitcoins, dwarf historical bubbles like the dot-com crash due to extreme volatility tied to mining protocols and speculative trading. Market overheating risks. Institutional inflows, such as $11 trillion projected into Bitcoin-related assets, draw comparisons to the dot-com bubble, where speculative capital outpaced fundamentals. Corporate treasuries like MicroStrategy aggressively accumulating Bitcoin could face a death spiral if prices drop sharply, amplifying bubble risks. Growing institutional legitimization. Bitcoin's integration into mainstream finance undermines the bubble narrative. For example, Bitcoin ETFs have seen daily inflows topping $1 billion, with ETF-managed Bitcoin representing over 6% of the market cap. Regulations like the EU's MiCA and U.S. legislative proposals provide industry guardrails, boosting investor confidence. Analysts like Rachel Lucas from BTC Markets argue this reflects structural demand, rather than speculative froth. Corporate adoption. For example, MicroStrategy, Bitcoin Treasury Capital, and El Salvador's legal tender status signal long-term belief in Bitcoin's value. Unique market dynamics. Bitcoin's fixed supply, 21 million coins, with mining halving every 4 years, creates upward price pressure during demand spikes. The April 2025 halving reduced the block subsidy to 3.125 BTC, potentially supporting prices. Unlike traditional bubbles, Bitcoin's crashes often recover to higher lows. As Andrew Page notes, each crash bottoms out at least 10 times higher than where it began, suggesting resilience. Posts highlight Bitcoin's cyclical nature, with 2025 seen as a bull market peak. Analysts predict prices could hit $130,000, $200,000 before a correction, not a burst. Market cooling indicators. A June 2025 CryptoQuant analysis showed Bitcoin in a cooling phase, despite nearing its all-time high, with no signs of overheating, unlike past peaks. X sentiment reflects optimism, with users like @Swan noting that corporate treasuries and institutional capital are eating sell pressure, reducing volatility. Long-term value proposition. Bitcoin's role as a hedge against inflation and currency debasement resonates amid global economic uncertainty. Ex-user at 100 trillion USD calls it a bet on government stupidity in money printing. Long-term forecasts remain bullish, with some experts predicting Bitcoin could reach $458,647 by 2030 and $1 million by 2035, driven by adoption and scarcity. Pro-bubble narrative. The establishment often frames Bitcoin as a bubble to protect traditional financial systems. Critics like Buffett dismiss it without engaging with its decentralized ethos or scarcity model. However, their warnings hold weight given Bitcoin's volatility and speculative trading patterns, especially when inexperienced investors or firms over-leverage. Anti-bubble narrative. Crypto advocates sometimes ignore risks, cherry-picking adoption milestones while downplaying crashes. Yet Bitcoin's growing institutional backing and regulatory clarity suggest it's more than a tulip mania. The dot-com bubble comparison is flawed. While speculative, Bitcoin's decentralized nature and finite supply differentiate it from unprofitable tech ventures. Reality check. Bitcoin's price is undeniably volatile, and short-term corrections are likely, especially after rapid gains. However, calling it a bubble oversimplifies a complex asset. Its survival through multiple bursts and increasing mainstream acceptance suggest it's not a typical bubble, but it's not immune to sharp pullbacks. Is Bitcoin in a bubble in August 2025? It's possible, but not certain. The $120,000 peak reflects genuine institutional demand and regulatory progress, but speculative fervor and historical cycles raise red flags. Unlike past bubbles, Bitcoin's fundamentals, scarcity, decentralization, and adoption trends provide a stronger foundation, but volatility remains a risk. If a correction occurs, it's unlikely to be a permanent burst given Bitcoin's resilience. Investors should approach with caution, diversifying and only risking what they can afford to lose, as advised by regulators like the FCA. Bitcoin price history. Bitcoin ETF daily inflows. This timeline highlights the rapid institutional adoption of Bitcoin from 2020 to 2025, supporting the view that Bitcoin is gaining legitimacy beyond speculation. .com versus Bitcoin bubble. Thank you for being part of this exciting conversation. New videos are updated quickly. Remember to subscribe this channel, comment, like, and share. Check out the playlist for next videos. Help equip others to navigate in this new crypto world. Thank you.